Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Got several things to talk about today, and it's a busy day for me, so we're trying to squeeze in a video, maybe even a second one today, we'll see. But we're getting ready for this expo. Starting tomorrow, I'll be there all day getting ready for it. Volunteers are supposed to be showing up tomorrow to go over some things, have a little meeting, and then Thursday is when it officially kicks off. And had several RSVPs for the event just in the last couple of days, so a lot of people showing up, a few more businesses wanting to show up. We've got a state senator, Missouri state senator, that's going to come and speak. And he's one of the good guys. I know how we all feel about politicians, but he's one of the good guys. Probably it looks like some YouTuber celebrities will be there. So it looks like a pretty good event happening. And we're hoping, this is the first year, so you never know when you do something the first time how it's going to be. And to be honest with you, my expectations were a little low because it's the first time. We'll see how it goes. I think it's going to be a pretty amazing event, and this will be a springboard for us to continue doing something like this at least annually. And if this works out like I want it to, of creating kind of a regional open market type of event, we may do this more often than just once a year. I do want to show you, we've worked on some t-shirts for the event. And we've got this one, and we've got kind of a mustard yellow color, and some good friends of ours that have a t-shirt business. They made these up for us, and we have a limited number that will be sold at the event. Now these, this is where the main revenue that's coming in for the event, because it's a completely free event. Everything is by donation, and we'll have places for people to donate if they want to, but selling these t-shirts is one of the ways that we're going to try to recoup some of the cost of this event. So if you want more information, if you're able to come, preparedhomesteadexpo.com is the site to go to learn more about that. So let's just kind of move on with stuff. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but as we've talked about all the time on here, the bad news just seems to keep coming and coming. And I've explained it, or at least tried to explain it like this, and this is just my idea, my opinion. I think that what we have seen over the last few years, even going back before the health crisis, we saw things being set up for the time that we're in now. The chess pieces were put into place, policies were being made, things that may not have affected us that much at the time, but we knew that down the road they were going to start really affecting us. And so we're at that point now that a lot of these policies, they're starting to come together. These policies for what many of us call a new world order, this great reset, this completely changing of the world that we live in. We're starting to see it all come together. Their plan, those people that are meeting in Davos this week, that's the they. Their plan is starting to come together, and we are the ones that are dealing with it. And I think my opinion is as we go along, these events that can hurt us negatively in a lot of ways are going to become, the repetition is going to increase. It's going to become more severe. If you go back, what was it, when Joe Biden won the election, he was, John Kerry was asked if Joe Biden was ready to take the reins here in the United States for the Great Reset. And he said yes, and we would see speed and urgency to push the Great Reset on here in the United States. And so we're seeing that happen. I want to point out some economic things. A lot of you people are market people, and some of you are very well aware that right now is not the time to be making money in the stock market. Well, at least if you do it the normal way. I guess if for some of you that are really into it, you can still make some money. But the point is we've gone through 8 weeks now of negative numbers. We've gone through 8 weeks of loss in the stock market. Do you know when the last time that we had this long of a run of loss in the stock market? 1932. That's right, back during the tail end of the Great Depression, as it was starting to kind of, the stock market part of it was starting to kind of wrap up. 8 weeks, nonstop, consecutive loss in the stock market. That was the last time we had this. But of course, we're being told all the time that the economy is strong, and that the markets are strong, and that there's, everything's going to be okay. This is all transitory. We've been hearing that word for 2 years now. I'm waiting for it to be just a transition. This is a pretty long one. Another thing that I wanted to point out is that in Russia, now, before I say any more, you guys all know for the last 2 or 3 months, we have been putting all of these sanctions and these things in place, and we're being told by the president and other people that, yes, they're going to hurt us. We're going to feel the effects of all this, but it's to hurt Russia. It's to hurt Putin. We've got to put all these sanctions and these policies in place. And of course, they're the reason that the gas prices have gone up. They're the reason that the inflation has gone up. Because before Putin invaded Ukraine, inflation was super low and gas prices were super low. You remember that, don't you? Well, maybe that's not true. But the point is that it's all Putin's fault. And these sanctions and these things that we're putting into place are just going to hurt Russia. Except they're not really hurting Russia. Did you know that the Russian ruble, which is their currency, is now valued higher than it's been in about 4.5 years? It's gone up. Now, when the first sanctions were put into place, it did bottom out. It tanked pretty severely. But it's not just come back up to what it was at that point. It's gone even higher. While all the time, the U.S. dollar has a smaller and smaller purchasing power here in the United States. You purchase less with it. Forget what they say. Oh, the dollar's strong. It's doing good. The dollar's strong. Really? Because I can't buy as much gas with my dollar bill as I once was. 2 years ago, I could buy a lot more gasoline for $1 than I can today. 2 years ago, I could buy a lot more food with that dollar than I can today. It's getting ridiculous. It's hurting everything. And the inflation, this 8.5%, we all know that's baloney. I spoke to someone here locally the other day, just as a little side example. They have an above ground pool, and it's an older lady, and she was telling me that every year she buys all of the pool chemicals at the first of the season for the whole year. She said, I just buy everything all at once, so I have it. She said, normally it costs me $150 for the year. She said, this year, I called the same place and ordered the exact same stuff that I do every year, and it was $325. Folks, that's more. For those of you that aren't really good at math, just to let you know, $325 is a lot more than an 8.5% increase over $150. That's a lot more. And we're seeing this all over. We're also seeing this in food, and food is it's taken a hit. And folks, I don't think it's going to get any better. Last night on my Patreon channel page, I talked about this, so I won't go into length here, but we've been talking about how there's wheat shortages. The other day I told you how the estimate is that there's only 10-week supply of wheat on the planet, the entire planet, that there's a 10-week supply. That puts us somewhere in the 1st of August. We're hearing from countries like India that's shut down their exports, and they were going to be one of the countries that was going to help save the world because of the whole Ukraine-Russia ordeal. And now they've shut down their exports. Here in the United States, the drought and the rains and just the weather in general has been horrible when it comes to planting. Here's a chart here that I shared last night on Patreon, and it shows that as of Sunday, we have planted less wheat as of Sunday than we have in the last 40 years. In the two big states, Minnesota and South Dakota, that's the two big states that produce wheat. They've only produced about 10 to 20%, or planted 10 to 20% of the wheat that they would normally have, between 80 and 90% planted at this time. And it's not going to get any better. What they are planting, they're not able to plant as much. The fertilizer shortage is hurting, and we'll get to that here in just a second. This morning here locally, the local weather forecaster posted something online asking about, you know, how the farmers are doing this year with the weather and with the price increases. And I read through several dozen responses from local farmers that are saying they're not expecting a very good crop this year on a lot of different things because fertilizer is way too expensive. They can't afford it. If they buy the same amount of fertilizer they normally would, they wouldn't make any money. So they're trying to, you know, balance this act of trying to, you know, grow as much as they can without fertilizer, hoping that they can make some money this year. This problem is just going to get worse, and it did get worse. Here's an article here just a few days ago talking about how Canada was going to be the savior, kind of like India was. Remember what I just said a couple minutes ago about India and the wheat? Well, Canada was going to be that same kind of, you know, guy when it came to fertilizer, because so much fertilizer comes out of Russia and comes out of Ukraine, and that's just really pretty much off the market. It's not available this year. Because of obvious reasons. And so Canada is one of the largest producer of potash, and so they were going to come to the rescue this year because they were going to produce a lot. And then this happened. This happened Sunday, a large train derailment in Canada. You know, it's kind of weird. A train derailment kind of sounds like, you know, buildings and warehouses and food production factories catching on fire and planes flying into them. And now we have a very large train derailment in Canada that was filled with potash. They didn't tell in the article, and here's some footage of it I'll put up. They didn't say exactly how much, but I did my own math. They said that there were 43 cars, I believe, 42, 43 cars. And I did the math on what the capacity was for those cars, and we're looking at roughly 5,800 tons of potash. 5,800 tons of potash, and I would say by the looks of it, it's pretty much a total loss. How much is that going to hurt farmers? Because you have to remember that when you look at that video, when you saw that and you saw all those trains, you know, turned over filled with potash, with fertilizer that was headed eventually to someone's farm, it's not getting there now. Those farmers aren't getting it now. They could wait for another order, but there's that much of a hole in the system right now. And you have to start to wonder, is all this just a coincidence? I mean, you all should know by now what my opinion is on coincidences. But how much more is going to happen, and people just still keep saying, well, it's just, man, we're just running through just a big old run of bad luck this year, I guess. You know, between the shortages and the price increases and the wars and the weather and the fires and the derailments and the stuck ships, and man, we just have a really bad luck. Or is it? Or is it because we've got a whole bunch of people over in Switzerland right now telling us that they are in charge and that they have the capacity, that it's in their hands. The future is in their hands. I want you to watch this video clip here. This is the opening statements from Klaus Schwab. You all should know who that is, of the World Economic Forum's Davos meeting that's happening as we speak over in Switzerland. Here's his opening statements.
Let's also be clear. The future is not just happening. The future is built by us, by a powerful community as you here in this room. We have the means to improve the state of the world.
That's right, folks. The world is in our hands. I mean, talk about how can you watch that and not hear that this sounds like some type of you know, egomaniac world leader that's trying to take over the world. You know, this is what we're doing today. We're taking over the world. And this is exactly what their plans are. So, folks, you've got to get ready. Plant, prep up, come to events like our expo, make connections. Get ready, because it's one thing after another. And as I've said for the last couple of weeks now, I expect to see and hear this kind of stuff continue on. There's probably no end in sight until we hit rock bottom. We are following the pattern of a collapse. not a collapse of the economy or just a collapse of one thing or another. We are watching a collapse of everything, our whole system. That's why it's hitting us on every area. You know, I've heard so many people say it just feels like we're being attacked at every direction. Well, that's what a collapse does. Every part of our society is collapsing. Everything from morality to family structure, traditions, economy, food systems, infrastructure, everything, energy, it's all starting to collapse. We're seeing it constantly on a daily basis. So we have to get ready, folks. Get your houses in order. Prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys this weekend.